Man, as a mediator between the worlds, remains necessarily entangled in the earthly calamities. Most of the time, therefore, you cannot hope to overcome the oppression by changing the external circumstances. My advice is, realize that the number of cares cannot be lessened. Suffering is not an objective concept. It is not the material conditions which cause suffering, but our own imperfection. The suffering is within ourselves. You still suffer from things that someone else can already smile about. From this follows, you must fight despair nowhere else but within you yourself. The darkness is within ourselves. Therefore, let him who remains in darkness blame only himself. Man falls into the darkness of a prison built by himself. Recognize and fight that what is still vulnerable within you yourself. Take the blow straight between the eyes, whether it comes from friend or enemy, if it be in the form of a personal criticism, and set yourself to find out what it is in you that has been hurt, and to what extent you deserve the criticism. Rid your aura of the rubbish, whatever degree of that rubbish you may have fostered. When one of you can say with perfect truth, upon being wounded or hurt by another, that there must be something in yourself that has called forth that saying from your brother or sister, you will have won a battle that will help you onward. The light as well is within us ourselves. There we can find it and pave the way for it by overcoming the darkness within us. The light is within ourselves, and we open the way to it. All misery, as well as all happiness, is within us. Heaven, where there is no suffering, is within you yourself. He who does not carry heaven in his heart will not be able to find it anywhere else. What exactly can I do to repel the attack on my inner balance? Despair is nothing but a wrong way of thinking. Faint-heartedness arises from limitation of thinking. He who thinks beautifully will not suffer. The art of thinking is the proper way to mental health and harmony. We just need to establish harmony, and with it everything will be refined and elevated. Yet people seek it in external conditions and overlook the essence of things. For example, a primitive man may live in natural beauty, yet be far from harmony. The city dweller may be oppressed by the bustle of his surroundings and be unable to think about a harmonious life. Even a refined philosopher can be crushed by the cares of supporting himself. Thus, the fundamental law of harmony is forgotten. People do not understand that the way to harmony is in the art of thinking. Deep contemplation is needed to feel the blessing of harmony. Every human being can develop a sense of harmony within himself. You build up a store of good thoughts to draw upon in moments of temptation. One should accumulate a stock of good thoughts. Only they will make possible an easy ascent to the heights. The great skill, the most important task of a spiritual disciple is constantly maintain lofty thinking. Contemplation of the supermundane frees one from the worst vipers, despondency and resentment. The most healing remedy against such poison must be remembered, namely sublime thinking about the supermundane. Not for a single hour should one extinguish within oneself this flame of lofty thinking. The highest sage loses his power if he ceases to think about the future abode. He will be defenseless, and from the bottom of his chalice the dregs will rise. What does the correct, elevated way of thinking look like? You take the standpoint of eternity and look at the external situation calmly and without being personally involved. You realize how utterly insignificant the earthly hardships and burdens are that oppress you. If people will investigate the true causes of despair, the invalidity of these causes will become amazingly clear. Your true self, your soul, is not affected by any of them at all. Dejection arises from ignorance of the cosmic order, of the laws of existence. Despair is first of all ignorance. Expressions of complaint mean lack of understanding of one's life's task. Those who no longer believe in anything higher and despair of the meaningfulness of the divine world order can hardly help but fall into depression. Despair is the death of faith, but faith is knowledge. Therefore despair is the death of knowledge, the death of all accumulations. Despair is always connected with a feeling of issuelessness. The usual method of the Dark Ones is to confine their victim in a circle without issue, and then urge him to crime. Recognize the goal fitness and the beauty of the cosmic order. Knowing these fundamentals, you overcome gloom because you enlarge your consciousness and change your thinking. Here are some examples of new, better, elevating thoughts. First example, I get what I deserve. Nothing more, nothing less, and nothing else. Don't complain if success fails you, or if you do not find a way out of the petty affairs of everyday life. Karma and the law of correspondence make sure you will be given exactly that, what you and the times are ripe for. He must be prepared to see all his preparations, his labor and efforts swept aside for the time being, and to do it without losing his equilibrium, secure in the knowledge that all that is divine in his purpose will surely be made manifest at the right time and place, and that he will be the gainer in the end, for no effort for good is lost or wasted. Second example, I can learn something. The very fact that external circumstances can bring you to despair is the best proof that the misfortune you have suffered is still necessary for you. It will return in one form or another until you can face it with so much inner strength that it shrinks to insignificance. If you had already learned everything that can be learned on this planet, you would not react with despondency, but with a superior smile. Third example for proper thinking. I am allocated exactly that, what I need to continue to grow. The difficulty that is towering before you right now is the next rung on the ladder of ascent. You are being led, for your own good, into a situation where you have the possibility to learn and to grow greater. Consolation does not lie in the fact that failure is not possible, but in the fact that each achievement of good is a manifestation of new progress. Instead of despairing, you should be grateful for this opportunity for further growth. Only the foolish fall into despair. Every hour brings its lesson, and therefore one must be grateful for each experience. In the most difficult days, the teacher says, "Consider yourself to be much happier than many. Be grateful." Fourth example. I am assigned what is necessary to redeem old karma. When a stroke of fate hits you, it means there is still old karma you have to pay off. A high consciousness will be grateful to be given the opportunity to make amends for wrongs committed by himself and to repay debts accumulated in the past. A wise philosopher, having been sold into slavery, Plato, exclaimed, "Thanks, evidently I can pay back some old debts." An emperor, nicknamed the Golden, was terrified. "Luxury pursues me. When will I be able to pay off my debts?" Thus have wise people thought about the quickest payment of their debts. They understood that former lives surely do not elapse without incurring indebtedness. But how much income must a man have in order to haste in settling his accounts? The law of karma gives you the possibility to understand, accept and improve even a heavy fate. You yourself can change your lot if you behave with dignity, especially in difficult times. You will get ready by and by for those better conditions you are longing for. Fifth example. I am given a task to test my devotion and progress. Joyfully welcome this opportunity to prove your abilities, which your teacher offers you. Sixth example for elevated thinking. If you are on the right path, confirmed by hierarchy, no one and nothing can humiliate, offend, or insult you. Even if you experience the greatest injustice and are being crucified. Who can resist your righteous path? Only the malicious or ignorant. But you cannot be offended by them. Also, you cannot be hurt by the ignorant, because you cannot recognize their judgments as the truth. Be sorry for their ignorance. He who follows the right path is immunized against such offenses. Only the unwise poison themselves by allowing their feelings to be hurt. Seventh example. If your efforts are unsuccessful, put aside your personal involvement. You are working on behalf of hierarchy and can do no more than your best to accomplish your mission. You may confidently entrust the results of your doings to the higher powers in whose name you are acting. Let the devoted co-worker put his psychic energy at the disposal of his guide. One must trust the ways of the guide. During a battle, one cannot question the intentions of the commander. One can only intensify one's striving to serve in the best way. Often it is not given to one to see the fruits of his work, but one must know that each drop of labor is already an indisputable acquisition. Eighth example. Finally, remember that you cannot always understand the true significance of what is going on. Often it turns out in retrospect that an apparent misfortune was actually a step in the right direction towards success. My wife once did an apprenticeship that was very dear to her heart. However, one made her fail the exam, which she felt was highly unfair. That caused her great distress. She then decided to take another training, and that is where we met. In retrospect, the apparent misfortune, difficult to bear at first, turned out to be the decisive factor in setting the course for her true happiness. Trust in it. You are being guided. Even bad luck can be a means to that end. We need the wings of love and trust in the leading hand